Hey friends, Miss Manning here. We are going to continue reading our final book in the Mercy Watson series called Mercy Watson, Something Wonky This Way Comes. Now today, I will be finishing this book by reading chapters 10, 11, 12, and 13. So if you have not seen the other videos, make sure to watch them before seeing how the book finishes. All right, let's give our brains a little warm-up on what was happening when we left off. Now, Chapter 9, Mercy was walking around because she was following a delicious scent of butter. And she found the source inside a car. And more specifically, the source was this buttery popcorn that the little girl was eating. Now, when she saw Mercy, she yelled, "Papa, a monster is eating my popcorn." And the father came over and tried to move Mercy. And this picture actually reminds me of the story where Mercy went for a drive. And we know how heavy she is because even Mr. Watson couldn't push her over. And Mercy then went on her way. So let's see what happens next. Chapter 10. In the front row of the Bugeaud drive-in, Officer Tomaleo sat up straight in his seat. Officer Tomaleo said, "Did you hear that?" Mrs. Officer Tomaleo said nothing. "Was that a scream of distress?" said Officer Tomaleo. "It sounded like a scream of distress," he answered himself. "Is someone in trouble?" Officer Tomaleo asked. Mrs. Officer Tomaleo said nothing. "It is very possible that someone is in trouble," Officer Tomaleo answered himself. "Is it time for an officer of the law to step in?" Officer Tomaleo asked. "Most definitely," he answered. Officer Tomaleo put his badge around his neck. He got his bullhorn from the back seat. He kissed Mrs. Officer Tomaleo goodbye. He said, "Am I off to make the world a safer place?" "I am," he answered himself. "I am most definitely off to make the world a more safer place." Mrs. Officer Tomaleo waved goodbye. Chapter 11. Mercy discovered that there was hot buttered popcorn everywhere. Every car had big buckets of popcorn. Every car had open windows. The popcorn was buttery. The popcorn was crunchy. The popcorn was delicious. And here I think we see a little bit of a trail on where Mercy is walking and enjoying some of that popcorn. And lots of confused-looking moviegoers. Mercy helped herself. She helped herself again and again. People screamed. People laughed. People fainted. Mercy kept eating. In the meantime, Mr. Watson and Frank returned to the convertible with several bottomless buckets of popcorn. Mrs. Watson was crying. "My darling, my dear," said Mr. Watson. "What is wrong?" "It's a tragedy," said Mrs. Watson. "I wouldn't exactly call it a tragedy," said Eugenia Lincoln. "Mercy is missing," said Stella. "Don't worry," said Mr. Watson. "We'll find her." "I'll wait here if you don't mind," said Eugenia Lincoln. She helped herself to some hot, buttered popcorn. Chapter 12. Leroy Ninker heard people screaming about monsters. Leroy Ninker heard people shouting about pigs. Leroy Ninker saw a woman with a net run past the concession stand. "What are you trying to catch?" said Leroy Ninker. "A pig," said the woman with the net. A pig? Said Leroy Ninker. That's right, said the woman. You're not going to catch livestock with a net, said Leroy Ninker. What you need is a lasso. Yippee-i-o. Mr. Watson and Mrs. Watson, Aunt Stella, Frank, and Baby shouted, "Mercy! Mercy! Mercy!" "Should you remain calm?" Officer Tomaleo asked. "You most definitely should remain calm." At the ticket counter, Beatrice Leopoldini took her glasses off and put them back on. "Wonky," said Beatrice Leopoldini. "Wonky in the extreme. Maybe it's some kind of emergency. Maybe I should call for help." Beatrice Leopoldini adjusted her glasses. She picked up the phone. Beatrice Leopoldini dialed the fire department. Chapter 13, our final chapter. Mercy was having a wonderful time. She had consumed a large amount of buttered popcorn, and now people were chasing after her. Mercy loved a chase. She ran faster. She kicked up her heels. "Gotcha!" shouted Francine Poulette. Francine Poulette netted Officer Tomaleo. "Yippee-i-o!" shouted Leroy Ninker. He lassoed Francine Poulette. "Fascinating," said Alfred P. Tompkins. "Simply fascinating." There was the sound of a siren. There was the flash of lights. A fire truck pulled up to the Peugeot. "Things seem to be out of control," said the fireman named Ned. "It's the movies," said the fireman named Lorenzo. "They make people crazy." "Actually," said a man who was standing next to Ned, "I think the pig is making people crazy." "Holy smokes! I know that pig," said Lorenzo. "It's that toast-loving pig from Decawoo Drive." "I'll tell you," said the man standing next to Ned. "This is way better than any movie I've ever seen. It's all been fascinating. Simply fascinating." "I guess it's time for us to come to the rescue," said Ned. "We should do what only firemen can do," said Lorenzo. Ned and Lorenzo took off running. Ned and Lorenzo ran very fast. Ned and Lorenzo caught up with Mercy. "Hey," said Ned, "how about some toast?" "Yeah," said Lorenzo. "How about some toast with a great deal of butter?" They know Mercy. Mercy stopped running. Mercy sat down. Mercy thought very hard. Toast sounded like an excellent idea to her. Toast always sounded like an excellent idea to her. Ned sat down next to Mercy. He put his arm around her. See all the other characters running along. "Oh," said Mrs. Watson, "you found her. How will we ever be able to thank you for helping us locate our darling, our dear?" "Well," said Ned, "I'm a little hungry." "Toast would be good," said Lorenzo. "Toast," said Mrs. Watson. "I would love to make some toast. Who else would like some toast?" Oh my goodness, the whole gang is here. Wow. all of the characters that we have met throughout the story. Let's see if we can just do a quick little recall. We have Baby, Eugenia, Alfred P. Tompkins. We have Francine Poulette, Beatrice Leopolini. Now this one right here, I think this is Mrs. Officer Tomaleo. I'm not certain. We have Ned and Lorenzo, Officer Tomaleo, Leroy Ninker, Mercy, of course, Mr. Watson, Mrs. Watson, and Frank and Stella. Now, the only one missing that oh my goodness, I was going to say General Washington, but there he is. So they're all enjoying toast in that backyard at the Watsons. We never did get to see the movie, said Stella. I wonder if it had a happy ending, said Frank. Well, said Mrs. Watson, here we are, all of us together, and we're eating toast, said Mr. Watson. I can't imagine a happier ending than that. It's the happiest possible ending, said Baby Lincoln. It's almost like a love story. It is a love story, said Mr. Watson, and it's very inspirational, said Mrs. Watson. And our final picture of the family. And friends, that is the end of our story. We did it. Oh my goodness, let me get this little sheet out. This was from a previous class where we did a little vote on our favorite stories. But let's take a peek. We were able to read through Mercy Watson to the Rescue, Mercy Watson Goes for a Ride, Fights Crime, Princess in Disguise, Thinks Like a Pig, and now we just finished Something Wonky This Way Comes. Now, as an added bonus, I will be reading these two stories so that we can learn more about Leroy Ninker in Leroy Ninker Saddles Up, and also more about Francine Poulette when she meets the ghost raccoon. So stay tuned for these. I think we'll start with Leroy Ninker and then move on to Francine Poulette. I hope you enjoyed it, friends. Talk to you later. Bye.